transforming your life through hypnotherapy has never been easier. With the help of your host, Julie from coachinghypnosis.net, and these power-packed minisodes, you're sure to find yourself engaging in more positive behaviors around both your physical and mental health. Here's your host, Julie.
G'day, it's Julie from coachinghypnosis.net, and you deserve to know the 5 elite covert hypnosis moves for 2022. Because people are tired of being awesome members of society and feeling like something weird's going on at the same time. I'm not a therapist or psychotherapist, but this is my 9th year as a clinical hypnotherapist in strategic psychotherapy. I currently help my clients online. They change their life without changing out of their pajamas, and you deserve to know the truth about covert hypnosis. So if you think something's going down in your area, workplace, or something else, I need to let you know covert operations are not my expertise. I don't know how to stage a coup d'etat or create support for subversion or start a sabotage campaign, but I do know a little bit about covert hypnosis, and I'll share that with you now. Covert, if it's done the right way, tries to ensure the subject is unaware it is or could be taking place. One of the hardest skills to master is getting a covert response. Obtaining a covert response requires a subject to not respond with a yes or no. And maybe if you've ever worked in sales, law, or marketing, you get that. You try not to ask closed questions or open questions, because with covert, it's completely different. You try and get the subject to silently answer in their head. For example, I wonder whether you know where the file is. And as you already know, a covert response requires a subject to not respond with a yes or no. Like, I imagine someone in your position might store information in a file. Or I wonder if you know what airline you're flying with. I'm curious if you're allowed to tell me you've traveled through Asia. And I'm confident someone like you, with your high attention to detail, seeking out the truth to make the world a better place, is familiar with analog marking, when you change the tone of your voice to mark out specific words, where you can use pauses and breaks in sentences. But what you might not know is analog marking is a form of hypnotic commands hidden inside normal speech. In normal conversations, you know these hypnotic commands can be done covertly by using a deeper tone for the command words, or pausing briefly before and afterwards, or touching the subject while the command words are being said. And what people love about this hypnotic analog marking technique is the client subconsciously registers your analog marked words. They work out they were somehow different, yet the conscious part of the mind keeps listening to the ongoing conversation, where the subconscious part of the subject's mind is still thinking about the analogued marked words and phrases. For example, you don't have to learn hypnosis from this covert course. If you don't like hypnosis, it makes me like you even more. And I don't know if you're thinking, that seems pretty simple so far, or if you're a bit paranoid that something's going down in your part of town or workplace or country. The truth is, if a professional covert operation was going on, you wouldn't even notice, because the communication that's used in those kind of operations is perfect. It's so perfect. It's like OCD perfect. It's like those people you see in documentaries washing their hands 50,000 times before they leave the house. It's just like that, where they're fussed about over language. So if you think something's going on, it's probably just a bunch of amateurs who have watched too many FBI documentaries. Because you also need to use embedded questions to get the subject to respond internally, as though he or she has heard the questions directly. But there should be no question mark at the end of the sentence. For example, I'd like to know what work you did best. I'm not sure how I'll find my way home. Do you know covert hypnosis can be our secret? I wonder what covert hypnotherapy is all about. Would you mind if I just sit here listening to this podcast? Let's ask someone if you're allowed to study and learn covert hypnotherapy. And then the covert experts wait. They look for eye pattern movements and read the subject's body language. They need to check if their subject is responding internally, because then comes the mind read. And a simple way to explain mind reading is to explain cold reading. Imagine if you were to ask someone if they want 5 sugars in their coffee and they say no. Take a mental picture of their face. Now you know what that person's face looks like just before they're about to say the word no. You can now read that person's mind. But once you know the subject is internally responding to your clever embedded questions, you can respond with mind reading techniques. For example, I can tell you're happy listening to this. I can tell you're worried if you've made a good first impression. I know you decided to listen to this podcast with a purpose. I know that learning covert hypnosis is important to you, and all of those covert responses, embedded questions, mind reads are useful. But what if you're talking to a dictator? You need to know the best communication style to get results. You don't want to ask a tyrant too many questions. You can't use embedded questions. They might just find you annoying. You need to use embedded commands to avoid resistance. Embedded commands are a gentle way of influencing someone. It's a neuro-linguistic programming (NLP) technique for planting a thought, state, process, or experience within the mind of another person beneath the person's conscious awareness. Here are some embedded command examples. Status can be earned. Clients find hypnotherapy adds value. When you listen to covert hypnosis, you're gaining decades of experience. Most people who listen to this podcast go on to buy my other coaching hypnotherapy products in bulk. Now you know the 5 elite covert hypnosis moves of 2022. The covert response, analog marking, embedded questions, the mind read, and embedded command. So what if you chose to think about covert operations differently? And what if you didn't? The choice is yours.